Hi there, welcome. Today we are adding to our Q&A series. Today's topic is relationships. I will have all of the other Q&A videos that have been part of this series in the drop-down box below this video. We have covered everything to do with lifestyle. We had a video on diet and exercise and a video on marriage and parenting, so be sure to check those out. These are the questions that you presented to me on Instagram stories, so let's go. How do you deal with friendships that you see gradually dying and fading away? It is really unfortunate when that happens, and I look at it from how much do I value this relationship, but also how much does the other person value it? If I really feel like this is going to be a tremendous loss for me, then I am going to put the work in to try to salvage this relationship and reconnect with my friend. But if it is not reciprocated, then I have to understand that that person is clearly not on the same page and they do not value the relationship the same way that I do. At that point, I will need to make a decision whether or not I feel it's in my best interest to sever ties, and often it will be because it really requires both people wanting the same thing out of the relationship. Bear in mind, there are always other meaningful relationships out there. Great question though. I also would encourage you to watch my recent video on 10 traits or characteristics to a good friend. Also, that's a good video for you to self-assess and ask yourself the question, am I being a good friend? Question number 2, how to handle jealousy or competition from others. Example, friends, acquaintances. Again, I am going to direct whoever is interested in this question to watch the 10 traits to a good friend video because I do cover this particular topic in there. Understand that jealousy is never going to make for a good friend. That relationship will never be able to stay the course because a jealous person is not your friend. Now, it's different if they're jealous in a good way. But if it's competitive jealousy, that will never sustain the friendship, and it's often an indicator that you need to move on. It really is. The reason being is that particular friend is never, and again, I wouldn't even consider them a friend because they are never going to want to see good happen to you. They are never going to celebrate your wins because they are often coming from a place of low self-esteem, therefore they're competitive. They feel they're lacking. So if you are doing good or you are well liked or you are making things happen in your life, they feel like they're doing the opposite. And you can't help someone with low self-esteem unless they're reaching out for your support, and often they're not. And that's really what's behind jealousy and competitiveness. So on the surface, they may appear to be happy for you, they may appear to celebrate your wins, but behind the scenes, that is actually not what is happening. And if you have a gut feeling or your intuition tells you that this person is competitive with you, because it can't be hidden. It always shows up. Trust your instinct. It's not lying, and it's really an indicator that you may need to move on, but definitely watch my video. As far as acquaintances, well, if someone's an acquaintance and they're competitive with you or jealous of you, take it with a grain of salt because they are nothing more than an acquaintance. So I wouldn't put my time into that because my time is going to be better spent somewhere else, more like improving my life and celebrating my wins with people that are going to celebrate with me. How to make new friends as an adult. The very first thing I feel you need to do is ask yourself, what am I currently doing? Because often it will be nothing. Understand that no one is just going to knock on your door and say, here I am, do you want to be my friend? No one is going to call you or email you. You are going to have to put some work in. And if you're dealing with some low self-esteem that's holding you back, you're going to want to work through that first Working with a coach can certainly help in that area. The other thing that's really important is, but again, you have to have confidence to do this, is to put yourself out there. You want to get yourself in a position where you are surrounded by people that have similar interests than you. So you want to go to social gatherings that is something that interests you. Because clearly, if people are at this same type of gathering, they have interest in it as well, which then you would at least have one thing in common, and often that one thing in common can be a good icebreaker to get the ball rolling. If you were at the bookstore and you just happen to run into someone, maybe you purposely navigated down the same aisle because you saw a lady around the same age by herself, and let's say she was in the self-development book aisle and you're interested in self-development books, strike up a conversation. You never know where that conversation is going to end up. She could end up inviting you for coffee. She could share with you that she is in a book club with other women that read self-development books, and she may invite you to get involved. But you have to be willing to put yourself out there, and often we hold back because we worry so much about being judged. But at the end of the day, the only person judging you is you. So let it go. Put yourself out there, surround yourself, place yourself strategically with people that could potentially have similar interests as you. I really believe, there's all these matchmaker sites where men and women can meet. I really think it would be so fantastic if someone, maybe you, maybe this is something you can do. I don't have any extra time on my plate to launch something new, but boy, my wheels always spin. But how nice would it be to create some type of communication connection site that is just for people to meet a friend? So this could be women meeting other women because they're looking for a companion as far as friendship goes. I just think we need something like that because this is a very common concern for women as they get older, and it's because they put so much into their children and their husband when they were raising children that when the kids are all grown and gone, especially if they didn't cultivate the relationship with the husband, now they're left a little lost sometimes, and they feel like they don't really have a network. So it's really important to put yourself out there and get the job done. Is it possible for men and women to be friends only? Yes, it's absolutely possible for men and women to be friends only. However, if either party is married or in a committed relationship, this is when it becomes a concern, or it has the potential to become a concern. We all know at least one couple that started out as a friendship, maybe a working relationship, whatever it may be. Maybe couples that did things together and relationships developed, and often they start out very innocent as friends. Neither one of the parties goes into it really looking for it to be something more. It just gradually grows into that. So it's something where you have to set your own boundaries for yourself, because again, something that seems like nothing can easily turn into something right out from underneath of you. The other thing is you have to think about, how would I feel if my spouse had a friendship with someone of the opposite sex? To me, that's a red flag. I'm not going to be comfortable with it because he has a female friend. It's me. It's me. I'm also his male friend most of the time. So it's a red flag. And if there is a relationship where there's a man and a woman and they're friends, and you are in a committed relationship, If there's concern with your partner, there's a reason for that, and you need to respect that just as you would expect the same respect. So it's a conversation that needs to be made because it can really be a slippery slope. Here's the other little thing I want to add in, however. Let's say this isn't the situation. You are not in a committed relationship, and you do have, let's say you're a female, a male friend. It's really, really important to, just to spare feelings that could get hurt, it's really important to establish those boundaries right from the get-go so there's no misleading signals. Because if he sees this friendship as something more than you do, he is going to feel very rejected and hurt, and it's going to compromise this relationship. So I do believe it's very important early on, if you have that type of friendship, to share with your friend that this is all it is a friendship, and it's not going anywhere from here, and make sure he or she is on the same page. It's just a respect thing, it really is, because we want to save people from feeling rejected and having hurt feelings. How to really stop caring what other people think of you. This is a tough one to answer because if you are someone that is so heavily concerned about what other people think of you, there's some underlying issues going on, and that really needs to be corrected or resolved through coaching or therapy. This could stem from something from the past. Often it develops in your childhood, so you need some type of support, again, through coaching or therapy to find out what this underlying issue is. It comes from a place of low self-esteem. People that exuberate confidence have a tendency to not be tripped up or penetrated by what everyone thinks of them. Now, it's different when it's your loved ones. It doesn't mean that you don't care what your husband's thoughts are or how he feels about something that may have to do with you or your children or your parents. But you are able to identify those loved ones that are looking out for your best interest and only want to see you grow and do well and succeed. Even if it's a loved one that, let's say, has that competitive nature, maybe you have a sister, but she's competitive with you, you're going to have so much confidence in yourself that you're really not going to place a lot of value on what she thinks, because you know it's coming from a competitive place, a place of jealousy because of her low self-esteem, and you're just gonna take it with a grain of salt, like I talked about earlier. So a confident person is going to be able to identify that, but a confident person also is not concerned about what everyone else around them thinks. They understand that other people's judgment of them is often coming from their box, and it's their box of, I'm not happy with myself, and therefore I'm not going to be happy with other people. As I've mentioned before, hurt people hurt people. It's unfortunate, but it is the truth. Also, if someone doesn't matter, let's say because they're not a loved one, maybe they're just an acquaintance, if they don't matter, then what they think really does not need to matter. It's irrelevant to your growth, your personal development, and your success. But again, we have to work on what's going on with you to be able to navigate into a better place within yourself where you can have more confidence, because you just will not be penetrated. You will rarely take things offensively, because you'll know it's rarely about you, it's more about the other person. Very tough though, very tough. Good coaching will help in this area. How to respond to people who make comments about being overweight or underweight. Basically, unsolicited advice. This is such a pet peeve of mine, but I also understand that most people lack in interpersonal skills. So here, let me clear this up for all of you watching. Folks, never, ever, ever comment on someone's weight to the put weight on, overweight, or underweight. Do not bring up weight, the word weight, okay? Let's say you see someone and they've clearly lost weight. You don't say, wow, have you lost weight? Now you may see that as, what's wrong with that? Many of you will. What's wrong with that? That's a compliment. How do you know it's a compliment? Because we don't know someone's story, and people lose weight all the time because of illness, loss, suffering. We don't know their story. So the word weight is what we need to eliminate. If you see someone who has lost weight and they look fantastic, here's the compliment. Wow, you look fantastic. Now, if they respond and say, thank you, I've lost weight, they now opened a window and brought the word weight into the mix. So someone with good personal skills would know to never bring up weight in a sentence, in a comment to someone. If they open that window, now it's perfectly acceptable to talk about it. So again, it's just, you look great, you look fantastic. Very hard for so many people to do. A lot of times people don't know because we're products of what we heard growing up. But we should never comment on anyone's weight. But to answer the question, the person wants to know, how do you handle that? Well, again, look at the source. I always do. If someone were to comment to me about my weight, and it has happened, I'll actually share what I responded. I don't think the person watches my videos, I hope not, but I'll share in just a moment. But is the person actually coming from a negative place? Or is it the fact that they really just don't know the proper wording, or maybe they don't know what to say? So first of all, that's where, are they coming from an ugly place? Well, if they are, that's just a sign that this isn't a person you're gonna see me hang around, have conversation with, or even socialize with. If it's a family member and I have to be around them because we're at the same family gatherings, it's just not someone you're going to see me invest my quality time with, because my time is better well spent with other people. So it's establishing those healthy boundaries. That's how I would view it. If it's someone who's coming from a concerning place and you know it's of concern, maybe for your health, depending on the relationship, you could come back and say, I appreciate you sharing your thoughts, but I didn't ask you because you didn't. And really, they are inappropriate to bring it up. I don't know why we feel in society it is okay to comment on someone being underweight, but yet if you were to come back and say, well, you know, you're overweight, they would be so offended. So always remember too, if you are not okay with someone commenting on your weight, whether it's overweight or underweight, think about how inappropriate it is to the other person. But again, this is more about good interpersonal skills, which many people don't have. These people are always reminders to us of what not to say. Have you ever heard someone tell a person who recently lost a loved one they're in a better place? I know you're shaking your head. That is like one of the worst things to say, but people say it. They just don't know. They just don't know what to say. And most people were never taught good personal skills. So they are messages for us. And again, the person saying they're in a better place, they're not saying that from a negative place or to be ugly. They actually feel they're saying something that brings comfort. Unfortunately, it doesn't bring comfort. People that lose a loved one, this is something that everyone I know has said. Why do people say that? It's one of the worst things you can say. But you have to identify where the person's coming from, and they're coming from a good place, not a negative place. So cut them some slack, give them some grace, and take the lesson. People are our biggest teachers. I'm always thankful for what people do. I see other people's faux pas as a positive because it's a reminder to me of what not to say, how not to behave. Chewing gum, I always say, I never chew gum. I haven't had a piece of gum in 3 years, not in public. Well, I haven't had one at all because gum chewers have taught me something. Don't chew gum in a conversation. Sometimes we just have to take the lesson from other people and apply it to our life, and that will help you to be less affected, less offended. It's fixing and shifting your mindset because we can't do anything with anyone else. At what point in the day do you bring up things that need to be addressed with your husband? The best time for him. The best time for him. Often, it's reversed. We bring up something that needs to be addressed with our husband when it works for us. And that, again, personal skills, that is actually very disrespectful for anyone to do at any time. If my daughter was working on her computer on a homework assignment and I bombarded her with some type of concern, how disrespectful of me to approach her when she's clearly doing something else. I don't get to assume, but people do, that right now is good for her. This is all family members and loved ones. If my husband were on his computer checking his emails, and I just go up and start rattling off all of these things that I am not happy with, that I want to address, I'm actually being very disrespectful. The way to handle it would be to go up and say, honey, I would like to talk to you about da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Please let me know when would be a good time for us to schedule that or to have that conversation. It allows him time to prepare also so that he can be in a good place. What you will find out is when you have a team, a husband and a wife that respect one another in this way, you will still have disagreements, therefore you need to have the discussion. Disagreements are inevitable, but you will have a lot less fighting because fighting is different than having a disagreement. The fights come in because someone is actually overstepping the boundary and disrespecting the other party, and it generally takes place in the approach. Everything is in your approach. I used to be that person in my 20s where I would just bam right at my husband, never giving him any pre-warning. Well, I'll tell you, throughout life, I recognized how much I did not like that and how disrespected I felt when someone just bombards me with all their frustrations. And so once I started changing my ways, because I recognized that, I found that my husband and I communicated so much more effectively and efficiently. Hard to do, a hard thing to fix. You have to be aware of it and you have to think about how would I want to be treated. Again, very hard to think about it from the other side of the coin. We can be very selfish by nature, but in our selfishness, we can also be very disrespectful to people and not even recognize it. Good luck. Good luck. Tips for maintaining a good relationship with parents even when you don't see eye to eye. I am going to have a video in the description box below this video on handling or dealing, because those are two words that get thrown to me all the time, is how do I handle people and deal with people. But handling other people's opinions, that video is really going to pertain to this question. The first thing that you need to identify is if my parents see differently than I do, their filter, their lens sees different, am I okay with that? Because often it's us too that are just as tripped up. And I have witnessed this with clients when they will share with me scenarios. I'm listening with my intuitive ears, and as I'm listening, I'm finding out, well, wait a minute. you're not really approving of the fact that they see different. So it would make sense. You're both guilty. And that's often the case. So you really do have to sit back and ask yourself, am I tripped up? Do I have my feathers ruffled or my underwear in a bunch? Has my buttons been pushed because they don't see the same? Because now it's just that power struggle. This again goes back to confidence, because a confident individual is going to be perfectly fine with the fact that other people don't see the same as they do. Right now, with the election coming up, you can go to Facebook and you can see a lot of people that really struggle with their own insecurities because they want to debate and challenge one another. Well, understand, those of us that work in coaching or mental health, we know exactly what's going on here because we've been educated in this. This is coming from a place of uncertainty with themselves or needing acknowledgement and validation from others. So if I post something and people agree, I feel good in the moment. I'm on a pedestal in the moment until someone disagrees with me. Now I go down the rabbit hole and then I need to come back and debate them and challenge them because I need more validation, acknowledgement and validation. It's coming from actually a place of low self-esteem. Important to know that, because often people that think they're confident in an area actually are not. And if you want to find out where those areas are, coaching and therapy will bring those to the surface. But that's a whole different topic. And again, watch my video that I shared. We don't have to see eye to eye. You have to be okay with that. If your parents are challenging and they like to debate to prove their point, just stay in your own lane. You have to decide, am I going to engage in this, or am I going to reroute the conversation, or am I just going to leave? Because there's nothing of value here. We can get together another time. So again, this goes back to the big word boundaries and establishing healthy boundaries with one another. There are family members and loved ones that I have that do not see the same as I do on many topics. I don't even pay attention to it because it's not about me. What other people feel or see or their actions, behaviors, everything is within them. It's being able to stay in your own lane, stay in your own box, tune out the noise, stay out of the debating and the challenging. Do you think anyone is going to change because you debated them or challenged them? No, people are set with how they see things. The best thing you can do is just be accepting, but also know that you're not the parents. So they may not be accepting, but that's not about you. Give them their box, give them their lane. You stay in yours. In many areas of life, stay in your lane, stay in your box. In fact, last Thursday, I talked about this in the monthly motivation video with our weight loss challenge that we are all doing this month. You have to stay in your lane, stay in your box. Often it's better not even to share until after something. Don't share until after the fact, because everyone has an opinion and they love to challenge you. Low self-esteem people will love to challenge you. All right, moving on. Next question. Saved the best for last, also the one that is just the hardest, I think, really to navigate. How to deal with a narcissist. Unfortunately, folks, a narcissist is the hardest person to salvage your own self-esteem with, especially if you're living with one, if you're married to one, if you have a parent that is one, a child, whatever, a close, intimate relationship where you're in the same home. Narcissists are the hardest for a couple reasons, and this would be a whole video in itself, and I'm just going to say right now, get help. Get help if you are on the receiving end of a narcissist, because it is so manipulating. They are so skilled at manipulating you into believing that everything is your fault. I've talked many times about the Energy Leadership Index assessment that I give to my clients into a 2-hour debrief. If you've taken the assessment, if you haven't, I'd love for you to do it. I'll have links in the description box. A narcissist is always the victim, always the victim. So the world is happening to them and everything is happening to them. There's no responsibility for anything on their end. And they're so skilled at manipulating other people, their closest loved ones, to believe that you did this to me or it's your fault. And if you are a people pleaser, level 4 energy, be very careful. Level 4, watch my ELI videos, they'll be down below. If you are a heavy people pleaser, understand that narcissists are so drawn to you. They're so drawn to you because now they can lure you in to a codependent relationship. You will always be saving the narcissist because they're the victim. So you're always saving them and you're always being manipulated into believing it's because of you or it's your fault. And then your people-pleasing tendency jumps in. You save them, you beef them up, only to have the vicious cycle happen over and over again. Those of you that are in a relationship with a narcissist, I am sure that your self-esteem is so compromised and it will continue. Seeking help is worth it. You need to invest in yourself. I have worked with clients that have been in a relationship with a narcissist, and I will share with you that those clients have since left or severed the relationship through working with a coach. I've never encouraged that. As coaches, we don't encourage anyone to do anything. The decision always lies within. The coach helps you navigate what is in your best interest, and you will make the decision. No one else. Coaches and therapists and counselors, we don't make decisions for you. You always make that decision. We just bring awareness around certain issues so that you can navigate to that decision of what's going to serve you best. This is not a couple sessions. This is not a package where I have a 6-session package. That's not enough. This is, if you are in a relationship with a narcissist, you need ongoing support. I would say at least every 2 weeks you're working with a coach or a therapist or a counselor. Find which is going to be best for you. I will share with that the clients that I have worked with were in therapy and coaching. It's a great combination when you're dealing with something like this. It's a great combination. You really have to be willing to invest in yourself. Understand though, often because you've been so manipulated, even in coaching or therapy, you'll have a tendency to come back and say, well, but it's so good when it's good, and if I could just be better, and because you've been so manipulated into not saying, here you go, take responsibility for yourself. Again, this goes back to lanes and boxes, but in that codependent relationship, you get in the same lane and in the same box, and that's where the narcissist has you. I could go on, and I've debated on doing a video on narcissism, but I have found that there's so many open wires to it, and each situation, although lots of similarities, is very unique, and this requires one-on-one. So if you see yourself, if as I'm sharing, your light bulbs are going off for you, let me encourage you to get working with someone. It doesn't have to be with me. Find someone. That's the most important thing, because your self-esteem is so jolted and it will continue. And if there's children involved, it can be even worse. So get yourself the help that you need. Yeah. Well, there you have it. Q&A relationships, going out with a somber question there. But don't forget to check out the entire Q&A library in the description box below. I know these videos are long. It's a perfect opportunity to, do your cooking or jump on a treadmill or do something. Put your AirPods in and go for a walk and just listen. These videos, I hate to see them get cut off early because people aren't viewing them when there's such great content, only to have you reach out and DM me with similar questions. You really want to watch these videos. Don't forget, if you're doing the October challenge, and I hope you are, week 2, we meet this Saturday. on Zoom at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. If you missed week 1, which was on diet, helping you figure out the diet plan for you, you can still purchase that replay. Sign up for this Saturday's class, which is on exercise, and stick with us the whole journey. Information on the October Weight Loss Challenge will be in the description box below, along with everything else. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you soon right here on YouTube.